Great, welcome back. Let me start with a question. Okay, how many of your companies, not you, how many of your companies are on Facebook? Show of hands. Stop doing it. How many of your companies, not you, are on Twitter? Stop doing it. You know why? All those guys who raised your hands, just stand up for 1 minute. Everyone who raised their hand, just stand up. Come on. Your companies were on Facebook over there. Stand up. I saw you guys there. Just look around. Every single one of the companies is on Facebook. But what do you do when you're on Facebook? I'm checking out my friend's birthday photos, not going to an airlines page or a Coke's page or a company's page to check out the latest toothpaste offers, right? Take a seat. Which is my point that stop doing it like everyone else. Stop doing it just because you have to do it. Stop because everyone else is doing it. You have to do it so that you achieve some very specific aims, some very specific goals. And today I'm going to be sharing my work with the airlines, not just all my work, but what airlines are doing to drive results, and then we can try to apply it in the Indian context, in the context of your own companies, but it's all about focus on driving results. I'll also share a few methodologies on how you go about doing that. But before we start, my name is Shashank Nigam. I'm with Simplifying. Simplifying, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar, but we are like the McKinsey for airline marketing. So we do strategy consulting for airlines and airports only. And Simplifying is also one of the top blogs on aviation. And we'll be doing a lot of social media as well for airlines and airports around the world. I was born in Delhi, brought up in India, still hold an Indian passport, get a visa for every single place I have to go to, and still proudly Indian. But tend to work with a lot of airlines, traveling quite a bit as well. And today I hope to share with you a lot of these case studies which should shed light on what is happening around the world as well as in India in terms of airlines which are very high touch, very deeply involved businesses when it comes to brand awareness. Okay? At the end of my talk, I will be putting up the Twitter screen, so if you have any questions, you can tweet me the questions, or you can ask me the questions. It's at Simplifying. We can just hash social India, the hashtag. And at the end of the talk, I'll also have 2 announcements to make. So hang in there. Okay? Now, before we begin, who's tweeting here, by the way? Just a show of hands. Get your tweeting thumbs ready. I'm going to share out some statistics. Okay? Before you look at that, today there are 191 airlines on Twitter in the world. 191. That is 20 more than the number of loyalty programs in the world. Loyalty programs have existed for 30 years. Twitter has existed for 4 years. Okay? 191 airlines on Twitter, but out of which only 85 tweet actively. Okay? So there are over 100 airlines which have literally just ticked the box for their bosses. Yeah, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm not really doing anything. Of the 85 airlines on Twitter which are tweeting actively, 28, only 28, form up 80% of all tweets from an airline. So these are the guys who actually have a strategy and, with customer service, driving revenue, or really achieving some goals, rather than just talking about things, or here's a new deal, here's a new fare. Okay? And that is something that can be, correlated across multiple sectors, not just airlines. If you look at some tweet volumes, this is a monthly infographic we produce on airlines and social media on simplifying.com. This is the infographic, I think, from August. And what you see is you've got airlines like Delta, which has the #1 number of received tweets, 27,000 tweets received a month, out of which 6,000 are replied to publicly. On average, about 24% of all tweets are replied to. Would you pick up your phone only 24% of the time? People will stop calling if you do that, right? So there's obviously some sort of a mismatch, okay? Another statistic to share is airlines, customers, when they tweet to airline, what do they tweet about? 88% are tweeting about customer service related issues. My flight's delayed, my bag is lost, where's my gate? Are you even flying to this destination? When are you starting a new flight to Jodhpur or something? And what do airlines tweet about? Oh, here's a new fare. Cheap flight, cheap deal, here's a new destination. It's very spammy rather than conversational. And even the conversations are focused on deals and fares rather than handling customer service. So there's a mismatch where 80% of all tweets from an airline are destination and sort of deals focused. So there's a mismatch. And again, you can derive correlations from this to other industries as well. Now, I want to share a case study with you. There are lots of case studies today, lots of videos of American Airlines. Now, this is, technically speaking, for the social media strategists in the room, a campaign done very well. The agency would be paid a lot, and you might exceed all your targets because American Airlines, they have a loyalty program called AA Advantage. Just like Jet Privilege, they have an AA Advantage loyalty program. AA Advantage launched the Facebook fan page, and their aim, their goal, was to get a critical mass of people on the Facebook fan page before they could start doing things with them, which is advertising to them, right? Now, how did they do this? They wanted to just increase the number of fans. This is where it started, You've got the page beginning with 2,600 fans, And the interaction was kind of limited as well, no comments on the new post, 41 people like it. Then they did something interesting. They launched a competition, so look at this right box. The Mystery Miles Journey Contest. It was a contest, a campaign in Stefan's words, which he totally hated. They launched this contest, and what this was you enter your AA Advantage number, so just your frequent flyer number, and you will get anywhere between 100 and 100,000 miles, 1 lakh miles. Free of charge, just a lucky draw, Now just imagine the impact of this. Here's what happened. We started with this, and in 54 hours, you had 210,000 fans, 2 lakh fans from 2,000 fans in 54 hours. The agency did its job. That was the mandate, right? Let's get a critical mass. Why? Because everyone wants to sign up and get it. I was never a part of American Airlines member. I don't fly American Airlines that often, but I signed up to see, maybe I can get, 100,000. I got 100. So did my friend. Everyone I knew got 100 miles. They did not really get 100,000. But they gave away tons of miles to everyone who signed up, right? Of course, it was new customer acquisition, and it was getting fans on your fan page. And then you see, there are things changing over here, where they have the dining program and the bonuses. They start pushing out the material which they wanted to push out. The other thing that happened was the interaction. That rose multiple folds. From 41 people just liking a post to 358 comments. Now let's step back a minute. If you are the marketing manager for AA Advantage, is Facebook dictating your hiring plan? Well, right now it is. You can't have the half person replying to 358 comments who was earlier just monitoring 41 likes, right? Now you got to hire more people. How do you do that? You got to manage all this goodness that you've created. So the real deal is that today, getting fans is not difficult. It is like the easiest things to do. Making a customer happy, just take off your clothes, walk down the road, he'll be very happy. Give him anything free. And there will be someone else. If you're giving an iPod, someone will give an iPad. If someone is giving an iPad, someone will give an iPhone with a Siri. And there will be the next thing. Come on, how do you beat a Kingfisher first class ticket free to London or wherever if they fly? But the thing is, there's no end to this, making customers happy. It should be driving goals. We did some very basic calculations. 200,000 people, 2 lakh people who signed up for this fan page were given at least 100 miles each, correct? Now on American Airlines website, you can actually buy miles to top up. And you pay a certain amount, a few cents per mile that you buy. So we did some basic calculation, and the number that we came up with was this. In 54 hours, American Airlines spent over $655,000, that's crores of rupees, in just 54 hours in trying to gain what? Likes. Do you know that they can't even send an email to this guy? Facebook doesn't allow you to send an email to your fan unless it's an app and you seek authorization. So it's just a like. That's the cost of a like. But what does it lead to? Right? And here's the conclusion. Are free hugs good enough? Has anyone done this, by the way? It's quite a cult following in the US and a couple of places in Europe, but outside train stations, there are people holding free hugs boards, and they just go hug random people. it's a pretty neat thing. You find the prettiest girl who's holding the board and you go hug her. That was the cool thing in college that we used to do. But anyway, free hugs are no longer good enough. That's the easiest thing to do for brands, for agencies, and you can come up with the best campaign, but those are all free hugs, right? So I'm going to ask you a few questions. How many of your companies, just with a show of hands, have at least 10,000 fans on Facebook or Twitter? At least 10,000? Stand up, stand up, stand up. 10,000? No, I need all those with 10,000 fans to stand up. Yeah, clients is fine. Okay, companies or clients. At least 10,000? Okay, give them a round of applause. Pretty good job. Okay, how many have at least 25,000 combined Facebook and Twitter? Clients. Okay, keep standing. Keep standing. Keep standing. At least 30,000? These are like smart people. 50,000? Okay, sit down if your company doesn't have at least 50,000 fans on Twitter, Facebook or Twitter. Okay, let me come to you. Alright, and speak to you. I'm going to ask you a question first.
Just to clarify, this is my previous company, not my present.
That's okay. Disclaimer? Disclaimer?
Well, that's all my doing. I can proudly say that.
Okay, good. That's all you're doing. So, how many fans?
230,000.
And what company was this?
Company called Millimet Pharmaceuticals based in California.
Okay, so they sell tablets, I guess?
They sell nasal cleansing products.
Okay, I'm not going to deep dive into that. But.
No, it's actually a pretty good product. I mean, you know,
I'm sure it is, not questioning. But focusing on fans, do try that nasal cleansing product. Focusing back on the fans, of these 250,000 fans, you said?
Yes.
How many had bought this nasal cleansing product once at least?
Almost 70% of them. So we had a discount. We had a coupon running as a PDF file on the Facebook fan page, and they downloaded that. So it essentially was a purchase.
So you were actually tracking?
Absolutely, and we redeemed
them. So
you
ran a promotion there on the Facebook fan and get them to buy.
And once they buy it, they get so addicted to it that they keep buying it for 1 or 2 more years. And not only that, they also recommend that product to their friends, families, girlfriends, boyfriends.
Okay,
So
I think you did a great job. Just one round of applause for it. Okay?
Thank you.
So that here, you don't sell laser products, right? And it's okay, good.
I have clients who sell also.
Okay, good. Pick one of the clients. How many fans?
500,000.
500,000 fans. What do they sell? Or what do they do?
Let's just say they're in the mobile phone space.
Mobile phone space. Okay, Airtel. Okay. Phone company.
No.
Okay. MTNL. No. Nokia. Anyway, Nokia has 500,000 fans. Okay. Whoever has 500,000 fans, how many of them had bought a Nokia phone before?
So the thought there is to try and drive sales every month.
Right.
So
From the Facebook fans. Okay.
So we're trying to actually go out and drive sales. So I get the point that you're trying to make. That there will be, I think, some of us in here who will have figured out that you can't just get fans, right? You've got to sort of sell results. Right. So yeah, so we sort of buy that.
And how many will buy it again or have bought it at least 3 times?
They either represent, will refer. So the thought is to encourage a referral and try to get them to either increase in existing more.
Right.
So go from a feature focus.
Okay, so cross-sell, upsell, different things. Okay, just a round of applause for those who spoke. This, by the way, has been the 2 best answers I've heard for a long time. Most of the time, I'm speaking to a group of airline CEOs, right? It's like 50 plus, heard of Facebook from their granddaughters, don't really know what to do. And most of the time, they can't tell how many people have flown on their flights from Facebook and whether they are part of P2P member or not. Okay? So these are great answers because the key is you want to figure out, not in a CRM kind of fashion, but redefine CRM. It's no longer customer relationship management. Customers are people who have bought your product or service. The CRM, in the new word, is cult relationship management. C-U-L-T, cult. A cult is a person who might be a Facebook fan, who's just talking with you all the time, helping other customers who might have bought something and having, how do I install the SIM card on my Android phone? And then someone pops up on Facebook and answers that. That's part of the cult. He may or may not have bought your phone. But that's part of the cult who's just as important. And this cult doesn't normally fall in the slicing and dicing of customer service relationship database. Okay? So you expand the definition to cult relationship management. CRM is cult relationship management. Okay? And then you start dissecting them. For every single Facebook fan or Twitter follower that you have, you need to determine what is your relationship with the customer. Let's say in an airlines case. Okay, let's pick Jet Airways. Okay? Jet Airways currently does not fly to Australia. Okay? But have a lot of people in Australia heard of Jet Airways? Yes or no? Yes, I guess there are lots of Indians there and the students go there and they tell everyone. They've heard of it, but they've never flown before. So, like over here, aware of you but never flown, because you don't fly there. Right? And then there are people, let's say, I'm a fan of Jet Airways Facebook fan page, and they had a 20 rupee deal, fly anywhere in India. Guess what? I'll buy it, right? And I'll fly. I would have flown once, but I may or may not be a frequent flyer. Right? Apply this similar model in terms of frequency of use and the knowledge about the product to your Facebook fans and Twitter followers. And every single campaign or action that you do should be targeted towards moving one group of people to the next stage. It shouldn't be people who have never used your product before to get them to become advocates and fans. Oh, you know what, we're going to give you, free phones if you talk about our phone. Guess what, I've never owned your phone. So how can I talk about it? Right? Similarly, find out who are the people who use your phone a lot. Texting all the time, or BBMing all the time, or WhatsApping all the time, all the new stuff. And see if they can talk about it to their friends. So use this as a framework, and from a presentation later when we go use the case studies, always think about which stage is the customer moving from in terms of just a funnel or a reverse funnel. Okay? Next. The other important thing is coming up with ROI dashboards. Now, ROI typically is a highly debated topic when it comes to social media, and there isn't really a clear figure. I've heard, ROI per fan is anywhere from $3 to $30 to whatever, and I don't believe in all these numbers per fan for a fan value. What you need to do is really figure out where your customers are, and then how can you drive value for them, not from them. There's a difference. Drive value for them on that platform. Okay? So I'm going to share with you a number of examples as well as just 2 more models, okay? Just to take that in terms of frameworks. The first, every single social media campaign that you do can be put into one of these 3 buckets. Einstein had E equals to MC squared. I just copied him. So there's a E equals to MC, the whole thing squared, because there are 2 E's, 2 C's, and 2 M's. Okay? Every single campaign that you do can be a listening sort of campaign, where it's a measure and monitor. Just trying to figure out the feel about the brand, see what people are saying out there. That sort of a campaign. They can be a create and communicate. Oh, today we are launching a new product. Here. Here's a brochure with a PDF, here's a nice smiling picture of a model holding the phone up or something. That's create and communicate. Then there's the engage and empower. How's your use been with our phone? Tell us about it. What can we improve about it? You're engaging them and empowering them to answer. Right? And you are empowering them to spread. Oh, if you like the phone, tell your friends, and we'll give you something. You're empowering them to spread the message. So every single campaign that you do can be in one of those buckets. The last chart that I'm going to show, one of the last, is every single effort. This is in parallel if you have a grid, a 2-dimensional grid. The first one were the buckets. These are, think about how every single campaign is driving revenue, engagement, or reach. Okay? And add one more factor which is critical to your own vertical or your industry, which should be accounted for. For example, for airlines, we add loyalty. Loyalty program, and you can start transferring it. Maybe for mobile users, churn. Or for telco operators, it's churn. For TV, it might be TRP. Something else. Okay? So think of these 3 and something else. But some of you might be aware, SpiceJet recently launched a new plane, the Bombardier Q400 in India for the first time. And it's hubbed out of Hyderabad. They have routes like Hyderabad, Rajahmundry, Goa, Nagpur, Aurangabad, all these regional routes basically, not Delhi, Mumbai, where this plane is flying. Now, the interesting problem that they had, this was literally last month, okay, was typically us Indians, we are scared of anything, flying anything with a wing, with a fan outside. It might crash, it's shaky, it's turbulent, it's small. But Q400, this new plane, was something that had never been flown in India before. It's flown in other parts of the world. It was the first time in India it was there. And the only reason the fan is outside is to increase fuel efficiency. It's basically a jet engine where the fan is sticking outside. But in the mindset, it is difficult to overcome that. I just want to fly it. Pay me and I won't fly it. Right? It's just shaky and turbulent. It's a turboprop, technically, in the things, in the listings. So how do you battle this mindset? You have two options. One, you can do a full page times of India ad, pay 52 lakh, I think, for a few cities, and tell the world, hey, we're bringing this new plane. Here are the technical specs of it. This is the speed, this is the wingspan, this is where we'll fly. Great, done, over with. Or you can do something like that video. Now that video is something that Bombardier, the maker of the aircraft, gives to every client. Show it wherever you want. It's like how the plane was built. What we did was spread this launch of a new plane, not an airline, a plane in India, over 3 to 4 months of customers educating one another about a highly technical thing like a plane. Okay? And here's how we did it. We had a Facebook contest, something everyone rings a bell, I guess. Facebook contest where people had to guess on SpiceJet's Facebook fan page, which by the way is the most followed airline in India on Facebook. So there was a critical mass already there, 2 lakh plus fans. So the first thing was a contest where you had to guess things like, oh, so what is the wingspan? Okay? Or what is the minimum runway takeoff length? Or how many runways can it take off in India? Now, there are lots of runways in India which are not really public. So the number is actually very large because of army, military runways, or even rural runways, because this plane can take off from very short ones. Or to which destinations will be flying. Once you answer these highly technical questions for which you need to download the plane brochure for, okay? Once you answer these, and there are 6 questions total, okay? At the end of each question, you get a number. If you answer the 6 questions correctly, and you're able to jumble the number up in a correct sequence, you get a pin code or a zip code of the new city that they're going to be flying to. If you're one of the guys who get there, you get to cut the ribbon, and the minister stands next to you. Okay, minister doesn't cut the ribbon, and you'll be on the first flight as well. So what we did was we got customers educating one another. Rather than the company saying, here's a new plane, come fly it. Yes, there were exactly fares as well, but we got that done by customers. Because if I was to share on SpiceJet's wall that, hey, the wingspan is this much, and I guess you'll be flying to Goa, guess what? If you're a friend on Facebook, you will see it too. Whether or not you are SpiceJet friend, because it's on the feed. It's something I wrote, right? So it spreads, the word spreads. And this was done on Twitter as well as other tools. But it was a C2C, customer education program, not really the brand telling them what to do. And then that video that you saw, so that video was only released 2 weeks ago, as opposed to 2 months ago when it's normally done. And what we did was we actually took screenshots from that video and jumbled them all up and asked them to arrange the chronological order of that assembly of the plane. So people who got it right also got to be on the first flight and the learning of the plane building process. Then we released the video as an answer. Amazing amount of interaction, and here's the other key thing. With something like this, it's a very specific niche product, right? You want to target your market very carefully. Rajmundry. Anyone been to Rajmundry? Nice. I had not heard of it till recently. But it's supposed to be one of the highest per capita GDP towns in India, ahead of Chandigarh. I didn't know that. But Rajmundry has 80,000 people who are at least college graduates, love to fly to Goa at least once a year for New Year party, have at least 2 kids and a wife who makes a decision on where to fly and which airline to fly, and have 2 credit cards. Not 5 crore people. So you need that targeting, which Facebook can actually give you. Within 50 kilometers of Rajmundry, here are the people who you target. So we coupled that campaign with the 7 key cities that SpiceJet was launching, to the 25,000, to the 30,000 people. And it was very efficient. Because the people we wanted to inform got informed and learned about the new product. I don't care about the Delhi guys and Mumbai guys. They fly the 737s and they got 15 flights a day to choose from. But the Rajmundry to Goa guy had 1 Kingfisher flight, or 1 Air India flight both get cancelled, or you can find this new one that they are offering now, which is a non-stop kind of. So, a customer education program. Okay? Very specific to goals, very specific to, and the results, by the way. So Sam Sridhar, who's the Chief Operating Officer of SpiceJet, 2 weeks ago, announced the results of what's been happening. So it's been 2 weeks since the flights were launched. Typically for any new airline, when they launch new flights to a city, the load factor is between 30 to 40%. That means 30% of the seats are filled up because it's a new route, new plane. People don't really come in hordes yet. For SpiceJet, they achieved an 88% load factor for the first 2 weeks of these new flights. Of course, it's not all to that. It's thanks to the 1,000 rupee fare as well. But then you conquered that mindset. Oh, it's scary. I don't want to fly. You see how a very specific goal was achieved. And a pretty difficult one at that too. Reaching tertiary cities through social. Okay? Interesting, right? An airline, typically airlines have no money anyway to do stuff like that. But an airline, of course, had no money to put up a booth. And ITB is really big and it's quite expensive to put up a booth there. It's a very big travel show. And they didn't have money to do that. So what did they do? Guerrilla marketing. This is what guerrilla marketing is, where you sneak in under the radar and then try to do it. But pretty innovative. So airlines are actually quite good at using their constraints as their strength. So think about what constraint you might have for your organization and how can you turn it around and use it as a strength. Okay? How can you tell me which airline this is? Emirates. Oh, you guys go ahead. We fly thrice daily here. Come on. Now this was an interesting attempt. This was candid. These are Emirates flight crew on their graduation ceremony of their 1 week cabin or 1 month long cabin attendant course. Okay? At the Emirates Academy. And at the end of it, they're supposed to, do a presentation, come get together, all let's celebrate. This was an internal thing that they put together, where people were performing. Make someone's day is Emirates sort of logo internally, or slogan that you should make someone's day today in the flight. And what they did was someone filmed it, put nice music as well as, well, the music is make someone's day, but put the clip-ins there and put it on YouTube. It has over 100,000 views today. Why? Because people, one, like to watch amateurish stuff than edited stuff on YouTube. Second, don't you think this does a much better job at bringing on the fact that Emirates is very international and global than a newspaper ad saying, hey, 95 nationalities is what we hire from 120 countries, and here's where we fly to. You can see the girl is from Osaka, she's Japanese. I can't fake it, right? And there can be a one really pretty face, or I can have this video, which brings out what? The essence of your company. So earlier I said, focus on your weakness, see how you can turn it around. The other thing you want to do is focus on what is the essence or the strength of your company and how you can bring that out through social. One of the biggest strengths of airlines is that they have so many people that they hire. 60,000 is what Emirates hire. 60,000 people work for Emirates. Each one has a different job role, each one has a different story. Let's bring out their stories. Let's bring out the essence of the company, which is the people. So how can you focus on the stories within your companies to bring them out in the open through social? And people connect with other people. They do not connect with faceless corporate entities like Procter & Gamble or company. I wouldn't name them. But people connect with people. They connect with personal stories, not as much as corporate company pages as such. So how can you bring out personalities from within the company? But basically the surprise passengers, where, branding has this thing called brand engagement, right? When the customer is interacting with the brand, think about how you can engage the passenger or the customer while he's engaging with the brand. So, when you're with an airline, for 2 hours you're sitting after security just getting bored twiddling your thumbs. Nothing to do, right? You can have, Bangalore airport has nice food after you go through security, but most airports don't. Okay? You're just sitting there, and here they are leveraging that fact that people are sitting there doing nothing, and the moment they share that we are there, let's try to please them, let's try to impress them. And yes, it might not improve the cabin service, but it's a step in the right direction. Some department of an airline or a company should push the others, right? And KLM is pretty good with social. And this is what they did. So think about in a customer life cycle, when can you engage him? When he's actually bored or doing nothing with your brand. How can you get him to spread that message? Okay? So I wanted to finish by saying, with the first thing I started, when I said, stop doing Facebook and Twitter like everyone else is doing. You want to get ahead of the competition. You don't want to run the same race and be one of the many who are there. And how do you do that? Based on the things we've talked about, one, You focus on the people and not the conversations. There are tons of sentiment analysis tools out there. There are tons of stuff which will tell you, here's a general impression of your brand online or offline. But you want to focus on the people, the advocates, the cult members who will actually bring value for your brand. And how can you impress them? How can you get them to talk about your brand better? Second, design KPIs, key performance indicators, like a dashboard in a car. KPIs for your own organization. Don't go by the generic stuff that's out there. It's way too generic. I mean, my brand engagement with a can of Coke is 2 minutes. With Starbucks, it's 2 hours. With an airline, it's 24 hours. How can I apply the same? How can I imagine applying the same principles across brands, right? So think about what is specific. What's your weakness? What's your strength? How can you turn it around? How can you get people talking about it? And lastly, tie each campaign to very specific business goals. Remember E equals to MC squared? And revenue, reach, engagement. Start thinking about those terms and how do you measure before and after impact. Okay? There you go. The second last point I wanted to make was you look at a small brand like Air New Zealand or Germanwings. No budget, very small, no marketing reach. I mean, New Zealand has more sheep than people. So how do you reach out to the world? Bangalore has more people than New Zealand, all of the country. So here you are, really tiny kind of market. And they used it to their strength. Where on CNN they were showing these safety videos. Exits. They're showing safety videos on CNN and people are watching it. Okay? So think about how can you use the what's limiting a company as well as the strengths of the company to bring it up. And to end, there's Charles Darwin. He didn't know anything about Facebook or Twitter. Okay? But he says something which still makes sense, like that bird with jet engines. It's not the strongest of the species as a wise, but really the one that's most adaptable to change. And these are changing times. Be ready to change. And I know you guys are pushing change in your organizations, and that's why you're here at this conference. So, good job with that. This presentation, I'll make it available on Simplifying, and you can drop me a line, and I'll be happy to answer any questions as well. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yeah, just wait for the mic.
Firstly, thanks for the lively and informative presentation. I have 2 questions, in fact.
Okay.
One is, how do you still see the client's psyche that you deal with? Is it, let's carve some budget out of advertising, or social media itself has a position or cost price? And how do you see this client psyche evolving? Is question number 1.
Right.
Question number 2, since you deal with a lot of airlines, there are sometimes very sensitive subjects like redemptions.
Right.
For example, I won't name the airline, but 2 airlines whom I tweeted the good things were retweeted. When I asked, I'm your frequent flyer, and I fly 3,000 miles, and I still couldn't get a ticket on your flight. There was like stony silence. So how do you generally advise? Should they be keeping the touchy subjects out of Twitter, or should they have reached out to me, or is there a word of advice you would?
Let me answer the next one. Both very good questions. Thank you for those. Let me answer the second one first. Typically, customers, you clean your laundry under the door, right? You don't open up the door and that's all clean together, right? So typically, at least for airlines or other customer service issues, phone companies even more, you DM them. A direct message, private, saying, hey, we want to address it, let's talk to you, and you call up the guy, you meet the guy, you talk to him. He wants to be heard. And stony silence is not something recommended at all, but you tell him, let's DM, let's talk in private, and we're more than happy to address it. Second, the first question, which was where do you get the budget from? I'll tell you for airlines, okay? In terms of which departments are funding social media, which is, I think, over FMCG companies as well, about 38% of all budget comes from corporate communications, followed by marketing, which is about 35%. So together, marketing and corporate communications form about 70% of social media budget, which is then followed by e-commerce, which is about 25% plus. The rest can be, digital or online or other things. But typically, what we've found is a cross-departmental approach is much better because social media is a horizontal; it cuts across silos. So you get each department to chip in. You have one central committee who knows how to implement it, and they consult this internal consulting thing, where they consult loyalty, revenue, sales, marketing, all these guys on how to use it. Hope that answers.
Yeah.
Any other?
I think I have the mic.
Yes, you got the mic. Smart guy. Just keep the mic. All right.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Just want, I think, a couple of points that you mentioned. That's the question which was going on in mind, which is like, if our premise is to get colored or try print, couple of examples that you mentioned that gets you a lot of likes. So is it like fad, like you have 200 or 230,000 people coming in, and then because then you're not engaging with them, then it will go again back to 5,000, 1,000. How do you bring cult? Can a small group within a company create cult or a tribe? Like maybe Apple, which is fundamentally based on, we are rebels. Therefore, they build that tribe or the cult around it.
Right.
So can one small department, just by doing something, create a cult?
Right.
Or would the company has to reorganize or reform itself fundamentally?
Great question. So for this, I actually have an official figure. For the minimum size needed for a cult, it's thanks to Malcolm Gladwell. He says you need 150 people to form a cult. That's the tipping point. 150 is what you need. You don't need a 200,000 fan. You need 150 such that conversations are sustained without you leading them. Okay? So you need that minimum 150, and hence any department, for that matter, HR or loyalty or customer service, can have their own little cults and dealing with the customers. In fact, that's what we want. We don't want generic service. The guy who's never used your phone doesn't want to know how to upgrade to the next plan. Right? So you ideally want lots of mini cults rather than one big one, so you can address specific needs and drive very specific goals. The lady here had
I promise to address small business cults later.
Yes.
I'm going to have to say thank you to keep us a little bit on schedule.
Sure.
We're already running a little bit
Can I just
behind.
add one thing?
Yes, please do.
Yes, I had tweeted earlier, I'll have 2 announcements to make, and it's not about me building up Kingfisher. Okay. One announcement is that we are looking for an agency to handle our business for next year, and I know lots of social guys are here, so if you're interested, let me know, and we can talk about it. And second, I was deeply impressed and touched by the first speech from Infinity, and based on that, I just spoke to the board at some time. We'll be sponsoring 100 kids for Akshaya Patra for the next year.
Thank you very much. I hope you feel a lot more of that all going on.